what really drove me was my son,
Mm.
because he just looked at me and said, "What happened to you, mom? You used to be so strong. Like, pull yourself out of this." Like, what is wrong with you? I don't think any story comes without challenges. And I don't think anyone's void of them. And it's how we get past them that is key. And so I hope this is helpful to somebody out there to understand how I broke through some serious barriers to get to where I am today. That is my mission. You are my ripple effect, which is why I'm here.
Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe, where we pour positive back into your day, sharing stories from real people who have made it through some real struggles, but were able to restore their health, hope, and peace. I'm Lisa Roars, your host, and as a certified coach, I'm here to guide you to be your best self-advocate, to help you restore your health, ignite your faith, and conquer those fears while you navigate your own healing journey so you can eventually exchange your dis-ease for durability. If you're looking for hope and encouragement to live a life you love, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. Today, we're talking about creative ways to secure your future. My guest today is Joanna Wright, and her inspiring story of resilience, grit, tenacity, and courage will inspire you to get moving, to find the blinders if you need to, and create the path to give you future freedom and peace, so one day your life can be balanced and peace-filled. You know, the path to freedom is always paved by hard work and consistent action. A balanced life is earned, and surprisingly, it's so much more appreciated when we work hard to earn it. Joanna Wright is known as the real estate wealth maven, and she's created millions of dollars in real estate. She's recognized as an expert in her field, and she's already helped her students create more than $5 million in their own real estate endeavors. She's changing the lives of thousands nationwide with her step-by-step program called Retire Mastermind. And her passion is really teaching women how to build wealth and how to keep more of the money that they make so they can retire when they desire. Joanna has fought hard for her success, and I know her story is going to move you, perhaps even moving you to action. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm very excited today to have with me Joanna Wright. Joanna has a huge wealth of experience for empowering women, and I know that there's going to be some amazing tips that you guys will get out of this conversation today. So with no further ado, I would like to welcome Joanna to the show. Thanks for being here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. You have got such an empowering story, such an encouraging story. Why don't you just back up a little bit and tell our guests a little bit about kind of how you got to where you are now and some of the things that you're doing to empower women?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think any story comes without challenges. And I don't think anyone's void of them. And it's how we get past them that is key. And so I hope this is helpful to somebody out there, at least one person,
Mm.
to understand how I broke through some serious barriers to get to where I am today. That is my mission. You are my ripple effect, which is why I'm here. You could reach people that, especially women that face challenges. And the more I can extend myself through others, the faster my word gets out in the world and inspires others to take action. So, with that being said, I don't come from wealth. I don't come from an entrepreneur world. I come from the middle class. We lived just above broke, right? And it was the old adage, go to school, get a job. If you want a better job, go back to school, get a better job. And at the age of 16, my dad had said, I've got things lined up for you. And I'm like, okay, what? You're 16, it's time to get a job. I can get you a job on the assembly line at Kellogg's cereal. And I'm like, what? Like through my head, I don't know if y'all seen Lucille Ball or know who she is, but there's this assembly line thing with her doing the chocolates. And I thought I would be doing that all day. And my dad was so excited for me. God bless him. It was, his child's growing up, gonna get a job, and I could get you a job, and, and they have a great retirement plan and 401k and blah, 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 and it was 401ks were brand new then, so and I was just I couldn't even stand the thought, and so I knew in my head there had to be a better way, and I was the black sheep of my family. I was the rebel, the devil, the whatever. I was called many names in there because I did not follow the rules, and so I knew there was something different about me. And so I just did my thing and failed many times into getting to the point where I needed to be. Where the light went off was when I bought my first house.
Mm.
And I didn't know anything about housing. We rented our entire lives. And my landlord daughter came to our door, knocked on our door, and said, "We need to sell off some of my mom's inventory." And I said, "What? You can own more than one house? How does that work?" So it got my mind tinkering, right? I mean, this is how
Mhm.
green I was, so green. And apparently, her mother had had a stroke. Okay. And she had been living off of her real estate portfolio, off the cash flow, and they had been growing in asset value.
Mm.
And the a point to where she was able to sell some off because of an emergency. And that's sort of the plan I put together for myself. I wanted to be the change I wanted to see in the world, to create my own economic independence. I understood that a bit at the moment.
Mhm.
She sold off some of her inventory to pay for her long-term care. And so I got into the world of real estate. I asked my friend to help me down the street to buy that house. I said, "You did what? You made how much? And can you teach me?"
Yeah.
I found my way, my path, something that made sense to me, that was creative, that could build wealth, right? So that, was a big aha for me. And I had a lot to learn. Started out as a mortgage broker, learning all the different loans and 400 different banks that I didn't even know existed. And so it was a wild ride. And then, of course, 2008 hit and I lost everything. My investments, my loans were tipping off one after another. And I'm like, why? I mean, they always close. I'm really good at this. What's happening? And I did not have a pulse on the market. I didn't understand what was happening. And so hindsight's 2020, you connect all the dots, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I realized my landlord had a wealth plan. I was not doing it right.
Mm.
Like she did. She was able to rely on her assets for herself. I said, if given the chance,
Mhm.
please save me from this moment. We all have those moments where we're just like, I'll do anything, just save me from this moment.
Yeah.
And that was a moment for me. It was a life-changing moment. I had made some very awful decisions during my brokenness season, if you will,
Okay.
of losing everything. And I ended up in a very toxic, horrible relationship
Mm.
that I didn't know how I got there, because I'd always been that black sheep person, independent, stubborn, if you will.
Mhm.
Uh, and so my parents always thought they didn't have to worry about me because I was just so myself independent. And I ended up in this horrible relationship. I didn't even know how I got there. And it was to the magnitude of, I mean, it's one thing to be behind closed doors and deal with this. And a lot of us women do. I applaud you for your strength of doing that. But I also realized it was a weakness too, in keeping it to myself. We never really got married. We were together for a while, and it was all cheery and, sweet to begin with.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, I like fell for it. I was in a broke mindset, not thinking clearly, and there was a couple of red flags now that you look back, right? There's always a red flag somewhere that we ignore.
Well, they don't look like red flags when you're on the front side because you're believing and hoping in the best.
Exactly. Exactly. So again, hindsight's 2020. We can only connect the dots looking backwards. Um, so in the years of, I guess I could say, bipolarness,
Okay.
where he's like the devil literally one day and sweet as pie and it'll never happen. And, I've got this. I love you. and you kind of melt back into it. Like, I don't understand. It was so mind twisting to
Mhm.
go through all of that. And then I'm losing everything still because now I'm having to focus on toxicity
Mm.
instead of getting myself back on track again after losing that everything in 2008.
Well, and I would imagine very unpredictable as well. When someone's in that kind of a mode, you just never know what you're gonna get from one morning to the next.
You never know.
Right.
You never know. A trip to Hawaii or, a trip to the hospital. You don't know.
Wow. Wow.
So it was to that level. And then you get to the point where like you don't want to say anything or do anything because you don't know which way it's gonna go.
Well, and you don't wanna trip the wire that might flip it from one to the other. If things are good, you don't wanna flip it to the negative, and when
Ex
things are bad, you don't wanna flip it to worse.
exactly. Exactly. So that was the kind of the craziest part of my life to deal with something like that. And over the years, I guess you could say he just beat away the independence. It got lower and lower of feeling like, I got this. I'm good. I'm a strong woman.
Mhm.
You know,
Mm.
that was not the case after so many experiences. And I was caught in a catch 22 because I had lost everything. I didn't even have my own phone anymore. My car was repoed. And here I was just stuck. Like, what
So
do you do?
from a financial perspective, then you were really dependent on someone, something to help because you were at such a low point.
Yeah, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Like,
Mhm.
where does it end? Where does the whole end?
Mm.
Was what I was thinking to myself.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, always beating yourself up, right? Like I did. I beat myself up um, about, well, I guess I deserve it.
Mm.
I guess this is my journey. I guess this is, you know, instead of saying why me, I just accepted that it had to be me,
Yeah.
right?
This is my lot in life. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's how deep I got in the hole,
Okay.
right? Today
Mhm.
is a much different story of how I think about it. But at that moment, when you're in it, when you're in the thick
Mhm.
of it, you cannot see in front of you at all, not even an
Yeah.
inch.
Right. Well, that
Just
kind of
fully see it.
toxicity it takes a toll on our self-esteem and on
Yeah.
our confidence, and it makes us second guess everything,
Everything.
starting with ourselves. Because you don't even truth and what is reality starts getting skewed, almost you said like a twisted place to be. You didn't necessarily even know what you could count on and what you couldn't. And maybe you brought this on yourself, and maybe there's a reason that this situation had brought itself to you. Yeah, it's all those kinds of questions come into our minds. And I'm sure there's people listening right now who are stuck in something maybe similar to that and don't know how to get out because you just get to that place where you're so beaten down that climbing out of that hole feels like impossible. Feels impossible.
Impossible. Impossible. And so you could tell your friends, you could say your position to your friends. I didn't speak about it much because I was embarrassed.
Mm,
And it wasn't until I was at work and I was going to a girlfriend's birthday party at one of our friends' house. There's like 20 of us there. And I got there late. He had already showed up. He had been drinking.
mm.
And I showed up to, this is what she does to me all the time. And he went like a bull in a china shop. And so
No.
now it became not just my problem, but everybody's problem. And I was so embarrassed. He beat up 12 of my friends. He threw the
Oh,
the owner of the house. I turned back in my fear of trying to get away. I turned back and I saw him throw him across the driveway.
wow.
It was just like a terror, Godzilla coming through the house, kind of thing.
Yes.
It was insane. And I had just had knee surgery and I tried to get in the truck and leave, but he caught up to me and broke the key in the ignition. I couldn't do anything. So I'm running, trying to run. And the kids are playing in the street. This is in a country setting and there's no lights, there's no sidewalks. And the kids are out in the street playing ball and it's just gotten dark. And I'm running for my life because he got in his truck and it's a 1-ton dually truck and he's got it floored chasing me.
And you're
Uh,
running with a bum knee.
and I'm running with a bum knee. And actually, one of the kids pushed me into the bushes. So, like, I was out of the, I just got chills. Woo! Pushed me out of the street. And all I could think of was like, oh my God, if he hit that kid, you know?
Right.
I haven't
Yeah.
talked about this for
Mm. Sorry.
um it was insane, an insane moment. And battered and bruised. And my friends took me in, and even the police came, and it was such a small town that he knew everybody there,
Mm.
and they didn't even arrest him.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
After all of that and being a drunk driver, they didn't even arrest him. He talked him out of it. I don't even know how I did that, but
Well, there's a reason that those kinds of people who have that kind of bipolar perspective and chemical imbalance in their brain, there's a reason that they sustain that behavior because
yeah,
they've got a way, they know how to flip it off and sound like a completely reasonable person. That's maybe their survival mechanism, but it's very convincing for people, including evidently the policeman.
uh, yeah. I could see that now. Thank you for pointing that direction, because at the time I just was baffled.
Yeah.
Really?
Right. Because it feels so obvious
Yeah,
when you're on the receiving side of that abuse and the
yeah,
receiving side of that trauma, it's so obvious what is the right answer because you can see it through your perspective and they're not seeing all the things you're seeing, unfortunately.
exactly, exactly. And I figured at least get him for drunk driving, but they showed up after he was out of his truck. So
Mm.
anyway, so it was a moment in time. And so now it's no longer my secret behind closed doors. And now my friends see the magnitude of it. They have been battered and bruised. He hit one of my girlfriends, and his husband went through the roof and damn near killed him. She had to pull him off. It was an insane moment,
Yeah.
so that he didn't go to jail, right? Um, and so all of us are battered and bruised, trying to figure out what just happened. And
Mm.
thank goodness, for the most part, nobody was hurt,
N-
especially the kids,
Permanently, at least not permanently.
not permanently. We were damaged a moment, but we weren't, yeah.
Yeah.
So and they're like, Joanna, how could you, like, and so here it all comes to me, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to do, and blah, 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 blah. So I left for all of 2 weeks, and I didn't know how I was going to be on my own. I applied to so many jobs. I was too overqualified. Nobody would take me. Plus, I lived in the middle of nowhere. I was too
Mm.
far away. I had no vehicle of my own. I didn't have a phone of my own. It was his, right?
Okay.
How the heck? So, as much as I failed at real estate ended up being my savior.
Mm.
I knew that real estate can make me money. I just needed to buckle down. And so I had to make a flip choice, right? I don't want to use the word pretend, but I had to flip and be a different person in order for this to happen. I couldn't stay in my victim mode,
Hmm.
uh, which was easy to do because it was a 24/7 experience.
Sure.
And so, how do you flip out of that? And what really drove me was my son,
Mm.
because he just looked at me and said, "What happened to you, mom? You used to be so strong. Like,
Wow.
pull yourself out of this." Like, what is wrong with you?
What a
And
wake up call.
oh, it was like gasping for air, trying to like, my son is disappointed in me, like
Your son remembers who you really were.
he remembered me for me.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
goodness for that.
Right. So he was my North Star coming out of this.
Mhm.
And of course, the sweetness came back from the bipolarness. And he says, I'll go to therapy. I'll do what it takes. And blah, blah, blah. And I go, he's all, I'm sorry. I go, You don't need to apologize to me. You need to apologize to those children and those people that you damn near killed.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I was mad at
Yeah,
that. And I think
with good
that
reason to
anger,
be. Yeah,
yeah,
and you know
drove,
what? Frankly, he should have apologized to you as well, but you were amongst one of them.
yeah,
A whole long list of people he really needed to apologize to.
yeah, yeah. So he went to therapy. He agreed to go to therapy. And I think what hit was one of the kids came to the door to get me to leave. And he's like, "Don't leave. I'll do whatever." And it was apologize. And I said, "If you were really serious and really apologetic, you would apologize to that little girl who just came to the door."
Mm,
He goes, "What? Why?" He didn't even remember why.
I'm sure.
So he went to therapy and he asked me a couple weeks later if I could show up to therapy. He wants to talk to me. And I go, "Great. What did he tell him? You know,
Mm,
it's going
hmm.
to be my fault again." And I had all this negativity around it. And I said, "This is you. It's not me." And you're like, "You're," because I know, but he just wants to talk to you. Like, fine. So I go and I talk to him. And I wasn't even in the chair 5 minutes. And I'm there by myself, right?
Okay.
I was in the chair 5 minutes. And he handed me this card. And he said, "If you were underage or not of your own cognizances, meaning maybe older and like, I don't have it all,
Sure.
might be thinking something, whatever. If I was not cognizant of myself or I was a minor, he would not let me leave the room." I think he told him pretty much the truth because the reason why he didn't want me to leave the room is because he wanted me to go to a women's shelter and get
Oh,
out.
good. Okay. All right. I was
Yeah. So
taking
the
it the other
complete
way.
opposite. I was like,
All right.
"What?"
Wow. So you didn't expect the truth to come out and for him to be almost defending you.
Right? I was all ready to defend myself, and he's up,
Right.
and he's like, "No, no, no, you're right. Let's go. I need to take you away from him."
Wow.
And he wanted to put me in a women's shelter. And I actually said, "I appreciate it, but I think it would make my mindset worse
Mm,
because it was further out away from any kind of civilization."
mhm,
The shelter he was speaking of. I don't have a vehicle. There's no taxis in the area. There's no Uber.
mm.
I would be even more stuck down the hall
And even more dependent
and even
on
more
something
dependent.
else. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, I'm going to take my bumps and bruises and I'm going to try and deal with this and get to the city ish place."
Mm,
Right. It wasn't even a big city.
mhm.
There's like 75,000 people. It was city enough to have a taxi and things. Right.
Sure.
So that I don't have to feel stuck. And so we ended up doing that. And actually, real estate saved me because I talked him into buying a house.
Oh,
I said, "Yeah, it's great. Let's go. Everything's great." And I just played into his way of being. Like, I learned it after a few years. I learned it.
yes.
And
His tactics.
yeah, his tactics. So I used it as a way to get out.
Mm,
And I said, "I don't even have to be on the title. I don't have to, it's whatever. It's fine. It could be all you. I just need to get to the city so I can create a different life." So that was my escape plan.
yeah. So you
And
did
sure
wear a
enough,
different persona for a while until you could get your footing underneath you to execute a different strategy.
exactly. Exactly. And so we ended up buying a house and he goes, "No, I want you on that." I said, "Whatever, I don't care. Either way is fine." And he felt like it was his way of controlling me by putting me on it.
Mm,
And I don't really care. I don't want to dime from this place, you know. Um, but I went on it just as well. We closed on it, got a great deal. And it wasn't that long after that it got crazy again. But I was in the city. I could make better choices now. I had
more resources
resources.
available. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still didn't have very much money, but I started doing wholesaling. And wholesaling is buying at a discount, selling at a discount, and then selling it to an end buyer. So I don't even have to have my own money to do that.
Mm,
Okay. So that was what got me out of the hole. I just put my blinders on.
mhm.
And while he was out at work, I just did everything I could. When he came home, there was dinner on the table. Everything was fine. I did everything he wanted me to do so that there was no red flags.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Wow.
And yeah, that was crazy. But I ended up speaking to title, having them cut me two separate checks because he knew I was doing real estate because it was my previous background. So it was normal for me to go do real estate, right?
Sure. Okay.
And I had him cut me two different checks. And so one went into a secret account because I couldn't even get a bank account when we first met. Like I lost everything and there was like $120 left negative that I could never pay.
Okay.
And it was just ridiculous. So they wouldn't let me open up another account. And finally, after the years passed, I was able to find an account that I could put money into separately. And I started banking it to create a different life. And
Yes,
so
kind of a
now I feel I have this confidence
mm,
layer on me
mhm.
because it's okay if I run out of gas. I have an account I can get money and get more gas. Because before he would let me drive the 1-ton truck and give me $5 for gas.
'Cause
Well, you
he
know
knew
how
then
far
you
that
could
gets.
exactly. He knew how far you could get and how far you couldn't get.
Exactly. It was on 0 so many times. I was just, like, praying because I live in the country, there's no gas stations,
Right.
no lights, no sidewalks, no anything, so if I run out, I'm stuck.
Okay, so how long oh my goodness, Joanna. How long did you have to go through this act, this persona act, if you will, and slowly bank some money for yourself to be able to get out on your own and get free again?
Yeah, so, basically, I should have died March 14th, 2011, and from that date to my exit was we closed in November, and I left in March of the next year. So an entire year of trying to make it all happen.
Wow. And the 2011 I should have died date is that when the kids pushed you into the bushes to get you out of the way of the path of the truck, right? Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. So then you were in that role, banking money away for, you said, about 6 months before you.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. That the
Yeah.
tenacity and the patience and the persistence is remarkable.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I thank you for recognizing that
Yeah.
because I was just on a mission and like nothing else existed but my own survival, you know,
Yes.
and just to hear my son say those words, right?
Mm.
Like, I am strong. I am like, I don't know who it is for anyone else, but there's someone in your life that what they say makes a difference in your life.
Mhm.
And my
Mhm.
son was one of them. Because all your friends could say, oh, well, just leave. You're like, it's not that easy,
Yeah. No.
right?
Very
He had
complicated
secluded
process.
me, not let me be with any of my friends. When I did see my friends, it was basically what do they call that? Um,
Supervised, like a
supervised.
supervised visit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A supervised visit basically is what I got. And then he'd be like, okay, it's time to go. And I'm like,
Oh my goodness. So
it
he
was
was
insane.
very controlling. Oh my
Very
gosh.
controlling. So a lot of my friends were like, okay, well, I guess you don't want to talk to me. Or they didn't see the drama because I hid it because I've always been independent and strong and fun. And they're like, well, I guess she just doesn't want to see me.
Yeah. Which further isolated you and further made you dependent on him.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. So there was a lot of things that stopped me and there's a lot of things that stop others. And although true, it just needed a minute to get to the point of you can't make a horse drink. You can lead him to water, but you can't make him drink, right? And I was slowly finding the path. I was afraid to drink the water because I could get in trouble for it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And so anyways, that was kind of a crazy time. And that's actually, I take the same plan that I did, me and my landlord. Okay. I take that same plan and I teach my students to do the same. We call it a wealth account.
Okay. From the perspective of building wealth and building security, financial security for your clients.
Exactly. Exactly. And when they come on board, I make it very clear, especially if they're working with their husband or boyfriend, whatever. I say, I make you independent of you and you're independent of you. Create your own economic independence because you're together because you love each other,
Mhm.
not
Yes.
mutually dependent.
Be together because you love each other, not because you need each other.
Exactly. I can't even tell you how many faces go, ah, it's exactly what I want.
Yes.
Yeah. So crazy, life journey that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And now I'm able to serve others, that are looking for this.
Yeah.
They're ready for the change. They want their own economic independence. And
Yeah.
I just take my experience in a healthier way to
Mhm.
help them create their own wealth account, their wealth strategy, their retirement plan. Like I said, I combined the two. My landlord had a great retirement plan, a wealth plan. So
Mhm.
when something went wrong, she was able to have the cash to pay for it.
Yeah. That is a
So
that is the like the foundational element of being free and confident and secure. And I think about the old psychological Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how we have to have certain needs met before we can do the next thing. And the financial freedom and the ability to just pay for the simple things like today we take so much for granted. You can't just drive somewhere. You if you don't have a car, or if you have a car and you don't have either electricity to charge it or gas to fill the tank. So there are a lot of limiting pieces if you don't have the financial wealth in place, even just it's a small little nest egg to get yourself moving. You can't even move forward. So how do you help people start? Where do you take them? How do you start?
yeah, so I take them on a journey of decisions to make, time versus money, experience. Are they a realtor already, or if they've never had anything to do with it? There's so many factors
Mhm.
that go into the decision making of where they start.
Mhm.
So basically, a retirement plan is where we start. And so I give them, according to them, their story and what they want. I create the retirement plan of the two factors that created mine. And then we reverse engineer it to today. And then I give them benchmark steps and accountability towards those. Like, what did you do this week that's getting you towards your goal?
Wonderful. We all
Yeah.
need that. We all need that. We all need help staying on the path. Once we've chosen a direction, we need that accountability and the education to know how to make the right choices because there's a bazillion choices in every week. There's so many different ways that we could go wrong. So I love that you offer not only the structure, but you're also offering that ongoing support and encouragement for those folks who are going through that new process. And is it more exclusively toward women or is it men and women that you serve now?
So I'm happy to serve men, but it's a mission to serve women.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I say that because many women like me who were already strong and independent end up in these situations. They have no idea why.
Yeah.
And so I want to continue to make sure that that is helped to not be in that situation again.
Yeah.
And because we don't see it coming, we're blindsided,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
that's so true. And I just had a conversation very similar, sadly, very similar to this conversation not that long ago. And I think it's important for listeners out there to realize that this, whatever situation you're in that you feel like you brought on yourself, you didn't. You did not bring this on yourself. We make the best choices we can in the moment with the information we have. And there's a lot of these kinds of situations that maybe in yours, Joanna, where there's alcohol involved or there's some other kind of substances, it literally physically changes the composition of a brain. And so it's very possible that the person that you connected with and really enjoyed life with was literally a different person then. And
Mhm.
it's not your fault that they changed.
Yeah.
You ended up being kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time in the path of that tornado, but it's not your fault. No, what we do need to take out of that is we want you to be in a place, Joanna and I want whatever listener who's listening to be in the place where when something like that does happen, that you have options and that you're no longer required to stay stuck or feel like you're stuck. We want you to be empowered to have options for freedom if you are finding yourself in a situation that you didn't expect to be in.
Mhm. Absolutely. And also finding the power within to sustain. So I was part of a collaborative book about breaking barriers, and I tell my story inside of this book.
Hmm.
Um, and I did that so that others can see how to break through your barriers, because that's all they are. It's just simple barriers that you get to choose to stay behind or break through.
Sure.
And easy and hard are big, real things. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so it took a lot of tenacity for me to go back into a relationship and not go into, I was so protective over my mind, my mindset. that I thought if I got around more people that were talking about more drama,
Mm,
you know, and all I lived was in this big drama world of death and violence and craziness, I'll go further in the hole. And I had no resources. So that was a hard decision for me to make between that and going back to an abusive relationship.
right.
But I had to take the lesser of two evils.
Sure. Yeah.
And I wasn't going to be 24/7 around his mindset. I
Yeah.
would have been 24/7 around that mindset
If you had gone to the shelter.
if
Yeah.
I had gone to the shelter.
Yeah.
So, and then I would have had empathy and been dragged into other story, and then I would naturally ignore my own because I'm a natural person that wants to help and love on others.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in your situation, it made a ton of sense. And I know shelters have been a huge blessing for women who have been stuck in a position where they literally could not get out and they needed to hide. And
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. So I don't think you or I are saying anything bad about that. But for your situation, being that it was way out in the country where you were feeling like that would be even more isolating for you, and you needed avenues to be able to build the freedom to walk away, that it wasn't a good option for you in this case.
exactly. I'm so glad that they're there for women. Absolutely. And they do work in certain circumstances, but it just wasn't for me because
Mhm.
mostly because of the isolation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. We are very connected people. We need connections and we need interactions, especially if you are trying to build wealth and build opportunities for yourself to stand and be on your own again. And to get back
absolutely.
to what that your son saw so clearly in you. Hey, mom, where are you? Kind of knocking on the door to say, I don't even see you anymore in there, mom. Where did you go?
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to say, putting on my blinders, I had to remind myself that my blinders were on and to not get caught up in other things and other stories of, a job or, I mean, what would be normal stories? I'm not trying to say that the story is bad. I'm just saying it wasn't my story,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I couldn't get a job. I'm like Lucille Ball, right? Like I can't see myself in a job. I'm unemployable. I've had way too much education and everything I applied for. I mean, I applied, I tried
Yeah.
to over 100 jobs and got nothing.
You're in 100 jobs?
Yes. I mean, I still have the folder of all the resumes I sent out
Wow.
because it reminds me you're unemployable, Joanna. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, God had a plan for you, and that was not to be employed by someone else.
Exactly. Exactly. And when I put my blinders on, just so that you understand the magnitude of this, I went from broke to 3.5 million in real estate.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is a huge growth curve
In 1 year.
in 1 year.
Yes.
Wow. That is a
Yes.
huge. So are those like, is that the little font point 0.3 type in the bottom results not typical? Or is that
Totally
something you
not
can
typical.
results not typical. But you can
Yeah.
replicate some of that with your clients as you teach them the ropes of how to do this wealth plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just this past year, I did 1.2. So that's kind of probably more average. But one of my students right now is closing on 3 properties at once.
Wow.
So anyone could do it, really.
Okay.
Anyone could do it. It's just most won't. That's
Mm,
what I gotta say. Most won't because it does take effort. It does take focus. Like I said, I put my blinders on and I knew that this is the only way I'm getting out of this. It's if I just do this.
mhm. Heads down, keep on the
Head
path.
down, hit the pavement. This is what I gotta do. I had already not been with my friends. We get distracted with friends and family, birthdays, weddings, all the things, right? Dinners.
Uh-huh.
Nope. I said no to everything and just put blinders on. You'd be amazed at how much you get done when you do that.
I bet.
And so I don't ask people to drop their lives, but I do ask them to take a look at their lifestyle and where you can maybe cut focus here, like watching TV for
Mhm.
simple explanation versus looking at real estate,
Mhm.
making phone calls that are going to move the dial, money making activities.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot of wasted time in our lives, oh my goodness. We waste a
yeah,
lot of time, and if we could claim some of that time back. Some people need to claim that time back to pour into their marriages because they haven't seen their spouse for a week and a half.
Mm.
And some people need to claim that time to pour into their children. And there's other people who should consider or could consider claiming that time back to build a future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of throw rocks at the whole balanced life. And that's fine if you want to be ordinary. But if you want to be extraordinary and you have extraordinary circumstances, balance is not real. There is
Mhm.
no balance. It's
Sure.
totally one sided. And you'll thank yourself later where you could be more balanced because you have more abundance. Right.
Right, right. Well, and there's a certain point where I think, like you said, the balance can come in at some point. But when you are really stuck in that hole,
Yeah.
you've got to focus. That is the only way you can really dig out. I mean, if you physically picture, if you can literally picture yourself sitting at the bottom of a muddy hole, you're not going to be doing anything but focused on getting the heck out of that.
Exactly. I like your analogy, the muddy hole, right? Like you're going to do what it takes to get out of that muddy hole. Some people don't realize it's only 4 feet deep. Just stand up.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's such a
Yeah,
good point. Yeah. Because it feels like when you're at the bottom of it and your head's down, you feel like it's 100 feet deep.
exactly. Well
So,
put. But
yeah. So if you are in that space and you are really needing freedom, it's time to put the blinders on, get rid of the distractions, and really focus in on making a future path that will then give you the freedom to have some more balance. That's really good. Really good. So tell us a little bit about your course, the name, the classes that you do, or your website, and how people can find you and learn more about these possibilities.
absolutely. So my company's bottom line wealth, it comes from the bottom line. And this is what
Yeah.
you got to do for wealth. I'm always saying the bottom line, the bottom line. So it's bottomlinewealth.net. And inside of my retire mastermind, and it's retire early through investing in real estate is the acronym retire mastermind. Um, I make a retirement plan on purpose because, well, first of all, I mean, I'm unemployable and those 401ks I thought were ridiculous and everyone was losing money in them anyways.
Yes.
So create your own, right?
Mhm.
So my landlord from back in my 20s really is the biggest pivotal moment for me looking back. And
Mm,
so this is what I offer my students is that retirement plan. What does it take? What kind of real estate do you need in order to reach your retirement plan? Because most people don't understand how much money it takes to retire.
yeah. Right.
Um, on a monthly basis, what is it that you need on a monthly basis? And that's typically millions in retirement.
Hmm.
So if you have 100 or 200K, that's not going to last very long.
Right. And people
So
often say they want to travel, they're going to do all these things once they retire. And then they get to that point, and either their health has failed them or they don't have the funds to even go down the street for a hamburger.
exactly, exactly. So just so that you know, one of my youngest students to retire is 28 years old
Mm, wow.
and came to me with no knowledge, didn't even want to talk to people, and didn't understand the real estate world, didn't even know what escrow meant.
Hmm.
Took him a whole year to do his first deal. Him and his girlfriend came to me, and he finally did his first deal and caught the bug, I guess, if you will,
Uh huh. Uh
real
huh.
estate. And he goes, "Oh, okay." And we put it together super creative so that he can work on the fix and flip process of it and understand it. And within 5 years, he retired. He has multiple properties. The cash flow, given him the money he needs, no longer have a job, and the assets are growing, and created his own construction company because he loved the flip world part of it. So,
Wow.
completely different life. So when I say retirement, I don't mean you have to wait till you're whatever age.
Yeah.
I mean, retire this life to the next life. Go follow your passion because the vehicle that you're using, real estate, is cash flowing so you can go follow your passions.
Right. It doesn't mean just go sit on a rock and do nothing. It's yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Give yourself the freedom to do what lights you up and enjoy the things that you want to enjoy. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
And the younger you could do it, the better. And I hear sometimes from like realtors, right? For instance, I'm just going to work till I die. I love what I do. What if you couldn't? What if you had a
right.
stroke
Exactly.
and you couldn't show property and you couldn't, what are you going to do for money?
Right. Yeah.
So I love that I could reach people and be able to create this plan for them.
Hmm.
There isn't a single person that and I've done hundreds, hundreds of these retirement plans, probably in the thousands. And every single time, wow, okay, this is totally doable.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's an aha moment for him almost every single time. So, with that being said, that's the Retire Mastermind. It gets you on track to doing your first property in 90 days or less so that you can start that path.
Nice.
And again, some people do it earlier, some people take all year to do it. It's you have the gas pedal. I just give you the steering wheel so you know where you're going.
Yeah. I
Okay.
love the way you are equipping people, Joanna, that you're helping people have the tools that they need for what they don't expect. Because we have a tendency to live our lives with just this expectation that everything's going to be just cool and fine. And I'm going to do all the things I want to do. And we don't always consider that life does change. The strokes happen, the heart attacks happen, the cancer shows up, the leg breaks, whatever might happen, or the car breaks down, or the house burns down. There's all these different things that happen in our lives. And we have to be resilient enough to understand that I can make changes now while I am healthy and able to be active and put but my blinders on. We can just always put those blinders on and spend some time investing in the future path so we are prepared for, maybe nothing will happen. And if that's the case, wonderful. But if something does happen, you're equipped and you are empowered to be able to work through it instead of have it be a devastating experience.
Exactly. And just like, what is it? Game of Thrones, winter's coming.
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
Uh, and sometimes it was years before that, but he said it like over and over again, winter's coming and you have to be prepared.
Yeah.
Your winter is different from somebody else's winter.
Yeah. But winter's always coming no matter who you are, it's always
Yeah.
coming. So true. Oh, oh my goodness, what a joy. I'm gonna have to sign up for your class, my friend. I think that sounds even just to have the plan. How many of us have that retirement plan set up? I know that some of you out there listening do, but there's probably a lot of us who don't. So worthwhile setting that up so you can have peace of mind and understand that, okay, I think I'm in a good place, or I better hunker down and shut off the television and start putting my blinders on and get some things done. So,
Yeah,
what
I love doing these walkthroughs and building those retirement plans and letting people see what's possible.
I love that. I'm so encouraged by you, and I know our listeners will be as well, but I'm just so encouraged by the path that you were on and how stuck you were and how completely you have turned that around and now are using that to impact life after life after life to give other women the freedom that they need to live the life that they would love. I think that's just such an encouraging story.
Thank you. Thank you. And I got to say that the biggest thing that I teach people is to take action because basically you can Google tube
Yeah,
all the information you want, but
sure.
how does it work for you
Mhm.
is another story. And so that's my job is to take it down and make it laser focused for you so you know how it works.
Yeah.
And so you can take action and get winnings right away.
Yeah. Well, and you have refined it over years and years of mistakes and trying things differently, and you've got it refined down to a really great process. So, always better to learn from someone who's been there, done that, and had success with it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Well, Joanna, I will make sure that all of your links and everything are in our show notes so people can find you. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your heart and your experience with us. I know some of those memories are hard ones to revisit, but I really appreciate you being vulnerable enough to share that with us and our audience. And I know it's going to help somebody else who's out there and feeling stuck.
Absolutely. I hope I reach you all and give you that motive. That's my mission. You are my ripple in the world to see the change that I want to see. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thanks for being with us today, Joanna.
Thank you.
Joanna's story inspires me, moves me, makes me laugh, and brings tears to my eyes as well. But she has some amazing wisdom that we all can learn from. I've got 9 takeaways for you today. Number 1, be the change you want to see in the world. Just like Joanna is doing as she creates her own economic independence and then teaches others how to do the same. What things are you passionate about? Can your lessons and learnings be a help to others? Don't be afraid to reach out and ask somebody who's successful, hey, how'd you do that? And then be open to learning. That takes humility and time, but it can be really powerful. Number 2, create your own path. Remember when Joanna told us how many jobs she applied to over and over again? She was told she was overqualified. In fact, too qualified for the jobs that she was applying for, and nobody would take her. So, sometimes when we find ourselves slamming against the brick wall over and over again, we need to shed the victim persona and instead dig deep, buckle up, and think creatively to create our own path. No, it's not easy. Life isn't easy, but there is a possibility to get there. You just have to find the creative way out. Number 3, find what drives you. For Joanna, it was her son who served as her wake-up call saying, "What happened to you, Mom? You used to be so strong. Pull yourself out of this. What's wrong with you?" Sometimes we need that abrupt reminder that we are stronger and we are more capable than we realize. Number 4, be careful not to assume that you know what's happening in the lives of your friends. As we remember with Joanna, the situation in her home with that abusive partner was creating a lot of challenges for her to reach out to friends, and her friends were just assuming that she didn't want to talk to them anymore. They didn't see the drama that she was dealing with, and for multiple reasons, she did not feel able to tell them all the details about what was happening. So, if you have friends that are pulling away from you and you don't have any reasonable explanation, reach out to them. See if you can open a door, crack the window just a little bit into what the circumstances are there, and see what help you might be able to offer. Number 5, are you ready? Do you have a retirement plan? Consider reaching out to Joanna or someone like her to be sure you have things in order to cover your needs as life moves forward. Don't just assume all will be well. Plan for some of those worst case scenarios. And if they never come, well then fantastic. But if they do come, you're going to be ready. And my friend, winter is coming. You have to be prepared. Number 6, we all make the best choices we can in the moment with the information we have. Number 7, claim your time back. Where are you wasting time? And what amazing things could you accomplish and do by claiming back the time that you're spending elsewhere and use it to achieve your goals and prepare for winter? What time are you wasting that you could use to pour into your marriage, your kids, yourself, your career, or your health? Claim your wasted time back and build that amazing future that's waiting for you. Number 8, if needed, banish your balanced life. There's a time for balance, my friend, and there's a time for blinders. Joanna reminds us that if you want to live without your future secured, or if you just want to settle for being ordinary, then a balanced life could be your goal. But she challenges us that if you want to have a secure future and live extraordinary, especially if you have extraordinary circumstances, the balance is just not realistic. In those cases, it's time to buckle down, put on the blinders, and get to work. You can, and you will enjoy balance once you get that future security established. Work now, balance later. Number 9, take action. You know enough. You have all the resources you need right now to take action. And you're going to learn as you go. Joanna wisely and bravely reminds us all, life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. And now she is able to serve others, and so can you. Just start and take some action. Thank you so much for listening or watching today. And if you are listening only to the audio, I'll just remind you can watch the episodes also on YouTube. Also, if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe right here wherever you're listening or watching this episode. Thank you for being a faithful listener. Please share this with your family and friends, and I will look forward to seeing you again next week, right back here. God bless you and have a great week.